Assalamu alaikum students. How are you all? Hope you all are safe, healthy and good at your home. Children, in today's session you are going to learn about response to light by earthworms, seeds whether they are living or not, and living things under a microscope. And what is a microscope? Microorganisms that are present in water. Now let us enter into our lesson. Response to light by earthworms. Now let us see about this, a simple activity. Children, here the aim of this activity is to observe the response of earthworm to light. Now to do this, what we need? We need a glass jar, black paper, torch, moist soil and earthworm. How to do this activity? Now, get an earthworm from a nearby moist soil. Take a glass jar, cover half of the glass jar with black paper as you are seeing here in this picture. Put some soil in the jar and put the earthworm in the uncovered portion of the jar. Now, close the jar with a lid that contains small holes in order to enter air through it. Now shed some light on the jar. What do you see? The earthworm moves to the dark portion of the jar. What we have learned from this activity? The earthworm shows response to light. That is a stimulus. A stimulus is something which causes a response. Now let us see seeds, whether they are living or not. Seeds are produced from plants. We know that plant is a living being. Can we say that seeds are also living things? Does a seed take in food? If it takes food, from where it takes food? Will it die if stored for a long time? What happens when a seed is sown in soil? Now let us see. Seeds germinate and turn into a whole plant. So we can say that seed is a living thing. Now, a seed doesn't take food in order to live. If it stored for a long time also, it won't die. Now, let us see. As we know the characteristics of living things or growth, breathe, excretion, taking food, giving birth to young ones, that is reproduction, response to stimulus and movement. But the non-living things doesn't have these characteristics. Then now we have known how to identify a thing as a living thing or a non-living thing. But what about this? If an animal doesn't show living characteristics, we can say that animal as a non-living thing. Then what about a dead plant or dead animal? Are they non-living or living? Now let us see. Dead plants, animals or any other living beings decompose to form non-living constituents. As they are decomposing to form non-living constituents, we can say that dead things, maybe they are plants or animals, they are non, we cannot say that they are not living things, but we can say these dead plants and dead animals are intermediate things. What things, ma? Intermediate things between living and non-living things. But we human beings are depending both on living and also non-living things, but also on intermediate things. Now let us see living things under a microscope. Here you can see microorganisms. What do you know about these microorganisms, children? Now, let us see. We cannot see all things around us with our naked eye because those things like the antennae of ants, yellow powder of flowers are very small. In the living world, there are some things that are not visible. Visible means that we cannot see with our eyes, but that is, we cannot see them. We can see the small organisms under a microscope, living beings that we can see only under the microscope. Those living beings are called as microorganisms. So now you can see here some of the images of these microorganisms. Now let us see what is a microscope. Microscope, it is an instrument with the help of which we are able to see minute things that we cannot see with our eyes. It works like a hand or magnifying lens, but it is much more powerful. Basically, our microscope is having two components. One is a structural component and other is the visual component. Now let us see parts of this microscope. Now let us see microorganisms in water. Collect water samples from a pond or a well or a bore well. Keep them separately. Now put a drop of water on a slide. Keep a cover slip on it and you can observe now under the microscope. By observing under the microscope, you can observe these microorganisms as you are seeing in these pictures. Now we see microorganisms are present everywhere, although they are not visible to our naked eyes, but we can see it. What type of microorganisms do you see in water samples, children? You can see bacteria, viruses, protozoans. Now, do all the water samples have the same type of microorganisms? No, they may be different. Is there any water without microorganisms? Yes, that is filtered water or chlorinated water. In those type of filtered water, we cannot see microorganisms. Now, children, let us continue our lesson in our next session. Up to that, be happy and Allah Hafiz.